Hello everybody and welcome back to a very awesome episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator and back to the channel in general, as today we get to check out the Pimax Crystal Super. I have been waiting a very long time for this. I'm super excited to give this thing a shot. We're going to go through the unboxing. We're going to go through operating it with inside of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 today, and we're going to leave everything at default to start. So the idea here is to check out the out-of-box experience. The idea is to demonstrate how easy or difficult, one way or the other, you guys are going to see it both, it is to get the Pimax Super running well. So stick around. If you are interested in any of my tutorial guides for Microsoft Flight Simulator, or simply interested in supporting the channel, consider joining me on Patreon. Patreon subscribers level tier 2 and above have access to all of my guides, as well as any future guides that come down the road. Patreon link can be found in the description below. All right, folks, so before we get into this, I do want to remind everyone that now if you are interested in buying any of my Patreon guides, you no longer have to subscribe. You can go to my site. There is a button that says shop, and you can purchase the guides individually without any subscription. Just wanted to throw that little self-disclaimer out there. And then finally, let's start talking about, once again, the details of this. So again, the goal here is to keep this raw. I have not even opened this box yet. Okay, so everything that you guys are about to see is for the first time only on my point. The idea here is to see what the open box experience is like. Okay, now, obviously computer hardware is going to take a factor into this, so all of my computer hardware is listed down in the description below. But a real quick highlight, we are running the RTX 4080. We are running the 7900 X3D, and we have 64 gigs of RAM DDR5 6000. Okay, those are the big ones. Storage is an M.2, but you know, that's really not particularly relevant in this particular scenario. And then the software version being used for the flight simulator will be Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 Sim Update 3 Beta. So here we go. Like I said, I have yet to open this, so we're going to see what we get here. Let me move this microphone a little bit. There we go. I'm going to do my best to keep my head up here. Come on, baby. Shh. Just shake it, twist, and shout. Come on, baby. It's like opening the monolith. All right. Set that aside. I always like Pimax packaging. And there it is, folks. Brand new, being welcomed to the world. Head strap is what that feels like. Feel like headphones. We'll open those up in a minute. Again, Pimax packaging is always phenomenal. And up she comes. Look at that. It is definitely a bit smaller than the Crystal, which is nice to see. Face covers. Controllers. Set that aside. Documentation. And the box that the cable comes in. You can see everything's laid out really nicely. All right, let me clean this mess up, and I'll be back with you guys in just a second. All right, as we get going, I decided to bring the Crystal light down. So there's the light and there's the Super. And you can see there's a pretty significant size difference between the two. I can also tell you there's a significant weight difference between the two as well. The Super is significantly lighter. So the Crystal Light, by the way, I just want to make this very clear. I haven't even tried this one out yet, but I can tell you right now that's still a very phenomenal headset. So if anyone's going, oh, I should have got the Super, I would not have any kind of buyer's remorse. It's a fantastic headset. Anyway, so let's talk about the stats. Let's pull the stats up on the page right now. All right, so let's go ahead and see about getting these headphones off. Comes with a little screwdriver. I'm hoping I can just use one of these bigger ones though. You pull the Velcro back. There's a screw in there. And I don't think this is going to work. Nope, we have to use the little one. Damn it. I was really hoping to avoid that. Not that there's anything wrong with the little screwdriver, just size matters. I'm just kidding. Alright, so let's get these on. Again, got to pull this back. There's also the comfort kit. I'm not going to worry about putting the comfort kit on today. I want to see how it is in its default form. But there is a comfort head strap. That's what that other strap is. I'll show you guys here in a minute. That's what this guy right here. This is a head strap. But because it is so much lighter, I'm kind of curious if you even need it. I didn't have much of a problem when it came to the Crystal Light. Alright, so what are these? Those are interesting. Anyway. So, let's grab this guy. That is the right one, right? No, this one goes here. They go like that, I think. Is it marked? Nope, left. Okay. So let me think here. This goes here. Yep, this goes here. Alright, so it goes there. So we'll throw that on here. Making sure there aren't any detents or grooves I'm missing. There totally are. Cool. There we go. Alright, so those go like that. There's two little sliding points. I'll show you guys on the other ones here. There they are. There's a groove here. And there's another one down in here. Where was it? Was it just the one? I thought there was another one. Oh, I guess there was just one. I'm sorry. I thought there was two. So that groove here, there's a corresponding line on here that you need to match it up with. But first, let's get that. Oh, damn it. Let's get that matched up. Open this up. Come on. Did the screw stay in there? Nope, there it is. This part's a little tricky, of course, when you have hands like a freight train. This part is a little trickier when you have big hands. Gosh, I can barely get a hold of the screw. There we go. That's in there. Alright, making progress. Alright, so there we go. Just one screw that holds it in right there. Let's do the other side real quick. Hopefully that'll go a bit faster. There we go. For anybody who has animals, isn't it amazing? Like, especially dogs. I have two huskies. It isn't amazing the places that their hair can get. Like, their dog hair was just on my desk. And, like, they're not even allowed in my office. Wrong one. Just blows me away. And, like, I dust my desk constantly. One of the joys of living in the desert. Alright. Headphones are on. Looking good. Any protective shielding we need to worry about removing? Doesn't look like it. That does look slick though, doesn't it? Looks really nice. Okay. So now I'm going to set these aside. Like I said, I'm not going to worry about this initially. We'll do a follow-up video on this, but this is the left side. This right, so this here. This would go like this down in here. But I'm not going to worry about this initially. I want to see how heavy it is just on its own. I was always particularly impressed with the Crystal Light, to be honest with you. The Crystal, the OG Crystal, that was a heavy son of a gun. But there are screws in here, guys, so be careful. You can feel them here at the bottom. So we're just going to sort of put that back with this, keep this all together here, right? And then now let's get into the software. all I'm going to do is see if there's any updates, etc. Now, keep in mind, guys, the one thing that I will say about Pimax right now, they're fantastic. I am a Pimax fanboy, absolutely. But my response to people who say that, oh, you're just a fanboy. How do you become a fanboy? You become a fanboy by purchasing something numerous times and having a great time with it each time you purchase it, right? You know, that's just a silly thing. It's like people who buy Dodge versus Ford. How do you know, why? Because you liked the car, right? So same thing. I have purchased and owned every single release Pimax has ever put out. The Pimax Crystal was the first one they ever provided to me. But the one thing that I have never beaten around the bush on is Pimax does have a history upon releases to have issues in the software. But they are always very, very quick to weed those out. If people are responsive to them and they communicate with them and they submit their bugs, Pimax is actually pretty damn quick about resolving those. So I just want to toss that out there, that I'm not going to hold it against them in today's review if there's an issue. It's just something that I've used to. And I will say that the Pimax Crystal Lite was an almost flawless launch as far as I'm concerned. They had a couple of issues when they first launched it, but like it took like a week and those were resolved. So here we go. Now let's get into the software. Let's see here. Let's get into... All right, guys. So we have already ran into our first issue. And as I told you, I wasn't going to keep any of this stuff secret from you. So here we are. So you can see that right now, finally, we have the firmware that is being updated for on the Pimax Crystal Super. So that part has been addressed. Thank goodness. Why are you not working, sir? Turn on. There it goes. Okay. So let's move this so we can see things for a minute. So there it is. You can see, I don't know how well that's coming up on camera, but we finally have a green light. What was happening is when I plugged it in, it was staying solid red. I checked the cables. You can actually pull the DisplayPort cable out, reseat it. You can actually, obviously I checked the cable connections to the PC itself. It's one USB 3.0 as we discussed. It's plugged into a 3.2 and one DisplayPort is being used. The other thing that you want to be watching for is, as we discussed, you can only have one other monitor. So you have your primary monitor, one other monitor, so a total of two monitors active. They don't necessarily have to be, you don't have to unplug them. You have to disconnect them in Windows. Okay, so total of two monitors. Anything more than that, and the Pimax Crystals, any of the Crystal variants won't turn on. Okay, so that's the first two things. We made sure of that. And right now, as the moment, because in my troubleshooting, I only have this one monitor plugged in. Okay, here's where the gotcha happened. You can see that we're now at a point where we can start using it. So let me launch that, and I'm gonna show you guys what happened here. So if we go to, we'll wait for it to connect. So like right now I have a red light, a solid red light, and this is what I was dealing with. So we're going to see if it connects. This is my first time launching it. All right, confirm. Purchasing channel. Actually, let us go others. I have no idea what my order number is. To better assist you, please select where you purchase the device from. I don't know. I'm just going to do that. That's all you get. Let's see what it says. I don't have an order number. At least I don't think I have an order number. If I do, we'll figure that out later. But anyways, cool. All right, there we go. Welcome to Pimax Products. Thank you for choosing this. All right, US region, cool. Support information. All right. Activated account only. 9 days remaining. Expires in 9 days. That's fine. We'll deal with that in later. So this is because you do have to activate it. We're not going to worry about that. It's currently on. We have a blue light. We're good to go. So what I wanted to show you guys is if we go to, I believe it's in settings. Yes. Check version. Current version. I previously had version 1.36, I think .01 or something like that installed. When I hit check for updates, it said you're on the latest version of Pimax Play. So I didn't think to do anything more. After all this troubleshooting, like I said, checking cables, checking. So here, I'm not going to do it right now, but there are two clips here and here. You can push them in, and this whole unit slides out. Because, for example, they just announced their ultra-wide base plate, I guess is what you would call it, face insert. Okay, so you can actually swap those out. Okay, so they just, like I said, they just announced their latest version. Or the latest hardware. It's like $699 for the Ultra. We'll talk about that in a later video. But so checked that, make sure it was seated. It's seated fine. Checked all the cables, everything like that. Checked the check for updates. Said I was on the latest version. Literally got this. Your Pimax Play client is on the latest version. So I was running out of ideas. I had just messaged them on Discord looking for a solution. It's the weekend, so I'm not going to probably get a response. But then I was like, you know what? Like I told you, these are the learning pains that you learn with Pimax. When I went to their website, however, latest version 1.39.4. This is their public site. Okay, this is just going to their website. And so I saw the version difference, and that was the immediate, this is what's going on. So if you have a previous version of Pimax Play, and you're like me, you're updating, for example, from the Crystal Lite to the Crystal Super, okay, and you run into the same issue, make sure that you come to the website and manually check your versions. And if the version's higher, just download it and install it. And as soon as the software launched, the color on this changed from red to green, okay, or red to blue, excuse me. So I knew right then, I was like, yep, this solves the problem. So that's the first step, the first problem that we've run into thus far. Now, the benefit here is that during the installation process, it did give me the option to clear any previous cache or settings. So this is now a truly out-of-the-box experience. All of my previous settings have been removed. So now let's come down back to the Crystal Super. Let's go into the device settings and let's take a look at a few things. Now, they do have, you can see here, let's check the HMD update. We should already be on the latest firmware. That was the first thing it did. Once it popped up, it told me that there was a firmware update. So that was what was happening when we first came back to the screen. So now let's take a look at things. Room lighting frequency, 60 hertz to 50 hertz. I believe 50 hertz is meant for darker rooms. Could be, I might have that reversed. Current refresh rate, we have 90 hertz, 72 hertz, and 72 hertz upscale. We're going to try it on just the default 72 hertz. Like I said, I'm looking for out-of-the-box experience. Brightness, you can set your screen timeout if you want, or brightness in generals. I'm going to leave everything at default and just see how bright it is straight out of the box. Eye tracking is enabled. So remember, eye tracking allows you to use dynamic foveated rendering, which basically means that wherever your eyes are looking, the sweet spot, as we call it in virtual reality, is going to move with your eyes. Okay. And then everything else outside of that sweet spot is rendered at a lower resolution to save on GPU resources. Now, you have auto IPD adjustment that uses eye tracking to determine IPD is interpupillary distance, the distance between the two of your one pupil to the other, right? It's this distance from here to here. Now, if you want the exact number, you can go to any optometrist. If you already have a prescription, you can usually call your optometrist and say, hey, what is my IPD? They should have it on file. If not, most places will tell you what it is for free. I've had one place that wanted to charge me, which was fine. You know, I get it, using their stuff. But most places will let you just stick your face into that little, you know, optometrist thing, and it tells them what the distance is, and they usually tell me right out of there. So mine is 65. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that in now. IPT adjustment. I think I can just type that in, actually. Yep, 65. Boom. So I already know mine. I will tell you that the auto IPD adjustment, I used it on the OG Crystal, the original Crystal. The Crystal Lite doesn't have eye tracking, so you couldn't do it on that one, but the OG did, or does, I should say. And it gets you pretty damn close. Like, for example, mine's 65. Usually the auto IPD would get me between 66 and 67, somewhere around there. So definitely very, very close. Enough where it's worth it. And then the eye tracking that you do want to walk through the calibration, but I'm going to worry about that at a later time for today. Like I said, my goal is out of the box, straight to the game. How does it work? Okay, going into games here. Let's go into our game settings. Render quality by default is set to medium. Remember, these are QLED displays at 50 ppd. So we're going to check that out and just leave it at the medium quality. And if we have plenty of overhead, we get into the sim and we like this thing's just flying, it's sailing, then we can look into running it up at high. Remember, my graphics card is an RTX 4080, is not the 4090. All right, so, or any of the 50 series for that matter. Pimax quad views, OpenXR quad views, we're going to let that, and central priority rendering, let's see, I can't remember what that one does. Oh, requires a reset, that's all it tells me. We're going to leave that off for now. Preferred performance, balance, or quality, we're going to leave it on balance. Smart smoothing, that's sort of like, kind of like frame gen, okay? Okay, so by predicting tracking data in the video and the video feed of the headset, the refresh rate can be improved by interpolation. So we're going to leave that off right now, and if we need to adjust that, we will later. Lock to half frame rate, again, that's for VSync purposes. I'm going to leave that off. I don't like using that. hidden mask area, anything that you are not currently looking at that is currently in the display isn't rendered. Okay, so it renders it off or as you are turning at a lower resolution. So let's see here. That's pretty much it for there. Let's go into general. Headset as default audio input device. We'll leave that for now, but normally I turn that off. I like to have my audio actually come out of my speakers. And then going to the advanced tab, pass-through enabled. Usually you can go like this, as we will test. It says double tap the HMD, and it will allow you to see the outside world by a simple double tap. You can also set a key bind using the keyboard. You can't bind it, at least natively in the software. You can't bind it to like a joystick button or anything like that. But what you can do is if you have something like spad.next or any kind of other program where you can emulate keyboard strokes from your hardware controllers, that's one way that you can set something like that up. Okay? All right. And motion compensation, we don't have any support for motion compensation right now. That is used for motion simulators. Today we are going to be flying from the desk, but the next video with this, we will be using the big cockpit where we'll be using the DOF Reality H3 Motion Sim and getting the full experience. And we'll also be testing this in both Microsoft Flight Simulator as well as in DCS World, as well as in American Truck Simulator. American Truck Simulator, I will tell you right now, in virtual reality is hands down one of the coolest freaking things. Like, it's just badass. It's really come a long way. Still has some more work to do performance-wise, but just a little side note there, it's definitely come a long, long way. It is absolutely playable in VR now. Okay, so that is pretty much it. We are ready to go. You can see screen is off. So when it comes to adjusting the headset, we want to make sure that you loosen your head strap, and this side here should be back on the base of your crown or the base of your skull. It shouldn't be up here near the top of your head. It should be down at the base. Okay, you want the weight pushing the sort of up, but you want it resting underneath the crown of your head. Okay, if you have it up top, that's where you're going to get neck fatigue, and it can give you a headache and things like that. So make sure that you get that head strap down just above your neck, sort of above your shoulders, at the top of your neck. Okay, that's the ideal target position there. All right, so I'm going to throw this thing on here, and then I will see you guys in the simulator, so stick around. Okay, we are in. These are default settings as far as the Pimax software goes, and it is fantastic. Holy crap, everything is ridiculously clear. Like, I didn't think it could get any better than it was with the Crystal. Need to calibrate the eye tracking so we get the full effect on that, and we'll walk through how to do that in another video. Let's go through the Microsoft Flight Simulator settings so you guys can see that. Yeah, don't even worry about that warning. It always says that. So if we come over to the VR settings, VR graphics, you guys can see we are using NVIDIA DLSS. We are set to quality. Foveated rendering is enabled. Maximum frame rate. Yeah, no, I don't max it. Top it out. Let it run whatever the heck it can reach. NVIDIA low latency reflex is on. I don't know that I've actually noticed a big difference with that or not. I haven't made up my mind on that. And then we have dynamic settings enabled as well as the high-end preset. So right now we are in Tucson. Oh, are we having an issue? Okay, there's a little bit of lag. It's still saying the GPU nonsense, but I don't believe it. I really don't. So let's I'm not going to focus too much on requirements, all that good jazz. Why am I saying, where's my nav light? Oh, it's the one that says nav. All right, avionics, brake check. Oh, that's the camera. Control check is good. Throttle's good. Mixture's good. Fuel set. All right, let's light it up. Ready to roll. And we're just going to go fly. We're not interested in flight procedures today. We're going to fly. Parking brake's already released. That's a no-no, but you know, whatever. I won't tell if you guys don't. Everything's very easy to clear. I can read my frequencies clear as day. I'm going to do my best to keep my head motion nice and smooth so you guys can get a nice effect. Talking will make the camera shake a little bit, so I'll try not to yap too much. This is phenomenal, though. It looks gorgeous. It is stunning. And it's so much lighter. It's very, very comfortable in the back of the head, even without the head strap. Keep in mind, I do have the comfort strap. We will be putting that on, but I wanted this thing raw. The DMAS headsets are very nice. I didn't even have them over my ear, but they are definitely significantly better than the default earphones. I knew they were going to be, so I do recommend that if you guys want those, that you look into these if you want to use the earphones. The nice thing about that is they have a really good sound quality, but they're not actually hovering over your ear, which for me, like for example, as a parent, many of you parents I know, it's very nice that you can still hear what the little monsters outside of the house are doing, or outside of the room are doing. Let's turn landing lights on, strobe lights on. Yeah, the issue isn't being able to see anything, it's being able to use the dang mouse. So we got a nasty crosswind, it looks like, coming in from the south, which is funny because that windsock over there shows something completely different, which is always entertaining. Either that or it's just the way the graphics are showing. But we'll take the 172 up here. It is quiet, I will say, but I believe that is a known issue. That is something that is being addressed, so that's totally fine. Wow, we are already wanting to fly. That's that crosswind talking, I'm sure. There's 50 knots. Yep, there's the crosswind. All right. Let's come off the rudder, let her do what she wants. Look at that. We are crabbing, pushing that tail. Gauges are extremely easy to see. The tablet, I can read everything perfectly, at least what's currently on display. I'm going to do some fast head movements just to see if there's any tearing or anything like that that we need to be aware of. No tearing, no lagging, no stuttering, no loss of tracking. So the tracking is absolutely perfect. Very, very impressed so far. Very impressed. Extremely smooth. I'm intentionally making some large movements. The stuttering you're probably seeing on screen is my head. I don't know why I've got the shakes today. I haven't had that much caffeine, so I don't think it's caffeine today. Normally I would attribute it to the mass quantities of Monster that I drink. The screen is a little bright, so you know what? I think we can actually change that on the fly. So let's go ahead and check that for a second. I'm going to go ahead and pause the sim for just a moment so we can do that. Yeah, that definitely made a difference. Yes, much nicer. So 80% is significantly nicer. That 100%, these are very, very bright screens. Like I said, they are QLED. Remember the display or the information that we saw in the beginning of the video. Perfect fidelity. It is stunning how great this looks. The performance is beautiful. The comfort is on point. The sound, the same headphones that you've seen in the Crystal Light, the Crystal Super, the same ones they've been using for quite a while. I don't think there's been any change to them that I'm aware of. Now, I know a lot of the fidelity and the performance that we're seeing is in relationship to DLSS, but that just goes to further show, you know, how far DLSS has come and the advantages that it brings to PCs that aren't $4,000 for a video card. So again, I want to stress this is the RTX 4080. This is not the 4090 or above. So you do not need the latest, the greatest, the best, the fastest to push the Crystal Super, even to, despite its incredible settings. We do have some overhead, so I would say in the next video we're going to stress test it. And that's where we will also do the eye calibration and for the eye tracking. We'll test the eye tracking. We'll also test it under heavier load, so we'll bring up the render quality to high. And I guarantee we're going to see some loss of performance when we switch it to high. But at the moment, being at its default settings, straight out of the box, you guys saw the only thing that we've changed so far is the brightness, and that's only because it was cooking my eyeballs. But very, very nice. They've done a wonderful job. The comfort is dead on point. I'm going to show you guys a couple things after we land here. One of the really cool things is that the face mask here is magnetic, so it's very easy to pop out. We're also going to be talking about, remember I told you the display itself can actually slide the whole thing out for a new unit. They just announced their ultra-wide field of view, and I will say the field of view is very, very nice here. I can see a little bit of the frame here in the far peripheral, but not much. It is absolutely stunning. Beautifully done. I do believe that we need the controllers in order to set up the IPD. Or not the IPD, the eye tracking. The controllers come with 2 USB chargers for each one. USB-C to USB. Let's bring it on down here. Land into the wind this time rather than going through the crosswind. Space shuttle approach. Mixture back to full rich. Not a single stutter thus far. Nothing. Not a lag, not a tear. There's a nice gust of wind right there. That was unpleasant. Oof! That's what you get for watching the wheel. I was trying to be like make it look all cool, you know, have the wheel and have that get that slow motion like you see in movies where it just shows the wheel touch down. That wasn't slow motion. We found it real quick. Okay, so the performance is absolutely outstanding, you guys. And you guys saw everything from start to finish. You saw what the settings are. Yes, DLSS is on a Microsoft Flight Simulator, but I always use DLSS when possible. I only use 2-frame gen. I don't want the 50 series for the multi-frame gen. I've seen what happens as you increase that number to 4 times or 4, 8, etc. The image just goes to crap. I think 4 is the top. I think it's 3 and 4 is what the next steps are. And then the image just goes to absolute garbage. So I wouldn't want that anyway. But anyway, so let's go ahead and come out of VR. All right, guys. Helps when I turn the mic on. So let's start talking. Like I said, the comfort is absolutely fantastic. This piece right here, sort of the arch in the bottom of this. Let me flip that over, see if I can get you. The arch in the bottom sort of lifts up. It's got a rounded arch. That feels really nice on the back of my neck versus having just a foam comfort going straight like this. It really did make a difference. It made the lifting actions in the head significantly better. I know I only had it on for a few minutes, but the nice thing about owning and operating every version of Pimax's hardware is I can tell you from experience that, for example, the Crystal, you know right away that you're wearing this thing. Especially the OG. The light is a little bit better. See what they did there? This one is by far the lightest. It was extremely, from the moment I first put it on, it was significantly nicer. Now, we talked about some of the things that you can do. So again, we talked about the fact that here, and same thing down here, if you pull those tabs, this whole piece slides out. And the idea is there are different modules that they're making for this. So for example, like as I told you earlier, they have already announced their super ultra wide monitor, or was it just ultra wide? I can't remember. Or ultra wide module, excuse me. That basically you would take this out and you'll slide the new one in if you want that real ultra wide vision, which is fantastic for a sense of motion. Remember that you get your sense of speed or sense of motion from your peripheral. Okay, so I guess both essentially. You get sense of speed and sense of motion from your peripheral vision, things going past the side of your eyes. That's where you really get that visual sense of motion anyway. So that would be really handy. That's something that's really cool. And I believe that's coming in at right in $699 for the ultra wide or the wide module. But talking about the faceplate, we're talking about the masks. So we can change the masks out pretty simple. You can see there's just Velcro here that holds these on. But what's really nice is in order to get to it, like if you need to change the lenses out, you simply just lift up. They did something really smart with this particular set. And it's magnetic, which also makes it really nice to clean them. Like, again, I'm someone who lives in the desert. I'm constantly battling dust here. It drives me absolutely bat crap crazy. But what's really nice, then you can just take that, you clean it, or change the faceplate, and just pop it back in. And it seats really, really nice. There's no plastic tabs you have to worry about breaking. There aren't any plastic tabs that you have to worry about breaking. The speakers were really, really nice. Yes, there is, I believe, still actively a current bug with them where they are only running at 16-bit instead of 24-bit. That is being addressed. It has been made aware. Those were the only issues. So far, from start to finish, on my hardware, which again is listed in the description below if you want the full list. On my hardware, from start to finish, the only two issues that we ran into, we had an issue with the speakers, which is a known bug, so that doesn't really count in my opinion. It's been known, it's publicized, it's on their website. Anybody who buys it will be made aware of it. Okay, and then you have the firmware issue that we ran into, or the software version, right? So where I had to download the latest software directly from their website because the previous version didn't recognize that there was an update ready, which is fine. Again, in the grand scheme of things, those are small. But from everything else, plug and play, you guys saw it. So in the next video that we do on this, we will go through more of the advanced configurations. We'll talk about more things like the auto IPD tracking. We'll calibrate the eye tracking. We'll bump up the render quality to high. We'll talk about smart smoothing and test it out, as well as dynamic foveated rendering using the eye tracking and see what kind of performance hits we can get, or performance goals, or markers, I should say, that we can reach with it. But I will tell you that right now I am extremely impressed. The color and fidelity of the lenses is absolutely on par. Even at medium rendering quality, it looked absolutely stunning in the simulator. The reduced weight is a major factor in this particular, not just the reduced weight, but the reduced form factor, right? So it's not near as wide as the Crystal, as the previous versions of the Crystal, either the Lite or the OG, if you will. I mean, I showed you guys that in the beginning of the video. They were probably about an inch wider on both sides, right? So very, very massive improvements to this. Far more comfortable, much better quality of life enhancements to this. Really a spectacular release. This is probably, I think, their best release yet. With the list of bugs and things that they have announced, they're minor. They're just little things that are nuances, things that can be quickly addressed, and I am sure will be. So to Pimax, fantastic job, and thank you for sharing once again one of your massively amazing products with me. I was super excited for this. I was really happy when it arrived yesterday, and I was not let down. I was not disappointed. They've really outdone themselves. And keep in mind, there's a lot of things that are in the works for the Pimax Crystal Super as well. You have things like the mixed reality faceplate, which is being developed. It is not released yet, but we know that they announced that a while back when they first announced the Super, that it was something that was being developed for it. And so that will allow you to take the faceplate off and put a new faceplate on and give you mixed reality. So it's going to probably have those high definition cameras. The inside out pass-through cameras, by the way, worked phenomenally. I don't know if I shared that with you guys or not. Can't remember if I included that in the video, but a quick tap of the headset as I'm smacking myself, and the cameras do turn on. They're not high fidelity. They're black and white. They are pixelated. They're just used for the tracking, positional tracking, but you can absolutely see what is around you. I could see if my kids were next to me talking to me. I could see where the joystick's keyboard were, and not only the keyboard, but I could identify what keys I was looking at. So they're still good enough to certainly be able to navigate around your desk or cockpit, whatever it may be, or be able to temporarily look over and talk to someone if you need to, and at least know that you're looking at them, right? See if they're giving you the finger or not, you know? So So anyways, guys, let me know if you have any questions or concerns about the Pimax Crystal Super down below, and I'll be sure to address them in the next video as best as I can. Once again, to Pimax, congratulations on a phenomenal release, and stay tuned for far more content. We're going to bring this back into Microsoft Flight Simulator. We're going to go into DCS World with it, as well as stepping outside the bounds of flight simulation. We're going to go in to see how it performs in American Truck Simulator, which that is a really kicker point there, because American Truck Simulator has gotten significantly better. It is not what I would call optimized for VR by any sense of the word. So we're going to see what kind of headaches we can dig up with that one. As always, folks, stay safe and healthy. Stay tuned for the next one. See you soon.